Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, a weekly interview show where we talk with interesting people around the community. Today we are taping the show on Wednesday, January 31st. And my guest today, he's been on the show before, is Ashtabula County Commissioner Casey Koslowski. Casey, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, it's great to be here again, Chuck.
Great to have you. And Casey, when we think of county commissioners, we think of four things. We think of projects, budgets, initiatives, and of course the county boards. And I want to talk about all four of those today. But before we do, you had the opportunity to work with two commissioners, Peggy Carlo and Tom Claypool.
Dan Claypool, yeah.
Dan Claypool,
Yep.
I'm sorry. And so you learned things under them, and now you have two joining you, Catherine Whittington and J.P. Ducro.
Mm-hmm.
What are you showing them that you learned from the other two? Let's start there.
Well, it's interesting. I'm already the senior commissioner on the Board of Commissioners, but the youngest in age, which I find that interesting. But no, it was certainly a pleasure serving with both Dan and Peggy during my first 2 years on the Board of Commissioners. And they brought experience, of course, to the board because they had served on the board for, I believe, a total of 2 terms. So they brought a great amount of experience. And then with me now, in this role, and I have 2 new colleagues, I am now kind of filling that role that both Dan and Peggy provided me in really helping to foster and provide information and insight into the county's doings to both to Catherine and JP. And I also have a unique perspective having served in the state legislature as well. And one thing I've quickly learned in this position as a county commissioner is the fact that we're creatures of statute. Everything that we have the authority to do as a Board of County Commissioners is what's delegated to us in the Ohio Revised Code. So having that legislative experience as well has proven to be very fruitful because I got to see how policy was made firsthand in Columbus. And we as commissioners really follow closely what happens in Columbus because we rely on them so much for what we can do. So there's no question about it that input, that insight that I've been able to provide to my 2 new colleagues has proved to be very beneficial to them.
Casey, is there any theory as to how we came up or how we decided we would have 3? Is there anything significant about that number? Why not 2? Why not 4?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that?
In the state of Ohio, it's just the way it's structured in the Ohio's Constitution. There are actually 2 counties that are different. So 86 out of the 88 counties in the state of Ohio operate under this form of government where you have 3 county commissioners. Cuyahoga County and Summit County operate under a charter form of government, and they actually have county councils. But in any other county in the state, other than Cuyahoga and Summit County, it's this structure where you actually have an elected Board of Commissioners, and there are 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. You're still a very young man, and you were a very young man when you were on the school board at Pymatuning Valley. I think that's when you started the political arena. What made you get interested in politics? How old were you, and where did the interest come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. I got involved in politics at the age of 18, actually, when I ran for school board. And I was inspired to run for school board because I felt that having just graduated from high school, that I still wanted to give back to the community in some way. And that I had a unique perspective to bring to the table because I had been a student in the school district that had just gone through the system. So several of the board members that had served on the Board of Education had been there for some time and were years separated from having gone through the school system. So I felt I had that unique perspective to bring to the board, but in order to be able to get there, I had to work hard and campaign hard and do all the door knocking and the yard signs, all those things. And ultimately I was successful, and I had defeated somebody that had previously served on the board. They weren't technically an incumbent because there was a gap in service, but I had beat somebody that previously served on that board, and I ultimately served 5 years on the Board of Education. Mm-hmm. But that's where it all started when I ran for school board there.
And going strong. Mm-hmm. And seeking a second term.
And seeking a second term as county commissioner.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Casey, The commissioners really get out into the community, and I noticed now your meetings that you move them throughout all the towns and villages and, in the evening, I believe the meetings are. When did that come about, and how is that working for you?
With the new board, the two new commissioners and myself, a priority issue for us that we wanted to really tackle at the beginning of 2017 was to be more transparent in the way county government operates. And one of the ideas that we came up with to help bring county government more to the people was to actually host our commissioners meetings in the evening. Historically, the Board of Commissioners meets during the day. It's a weekday, and that's when we have the opportunity to meet with a lot of the department heads and elected officials, because we operate from 8 to 4:30 daily, and we have a lot of staff members that are coming to us with requests. However, members of the public don't always get to participate in the governmental process because many people work or have other things that are going during the day. So we thought a great way to help bring government to the people would be to actually host one of our meetings every month in the evening, and we actually rotate it in different parts of the county.
That's a great idea.
And our goal is to visit all of the townships, cities, and villages.
That's a great idea. And you get much public feedback at these meetings?
Yeah, they've actually proven to be very successful. We were just in Ashtabula City yesterday, and we've been in many other parts of the county, no question about it. And we've received a lot of feedback from people. They ask us questions, and we've been able to take a lot of feedback that they've provided to us and help formulate that into our doings as commissioners. So it's proven to be very beneficial.
Good, good. Something else I believe is new is a monthly newsletter called Ashtabula County Insights.
You got it.
And that provides information on many of the projects you're involved with. So let's talk about some of those. First of all, how's that newsletter produced?
The newsletter is produced in-house within the Board of Commissioners office. We utilize existing staff resources. So this was also part of our transparency efforts that was unveiled beginning of 2017. And we produce it on a monthly basis, and it provides a lot of information about the projects that the Board of Commissioners are involved in. And we also have residents throughout the community submit questions to us, and then we'll actually answer a question in every monthly edition of our newsletter. So it's proven to be very beneficial because anytime I'm out and about throughout the community, I'm always asked, what projects are you working on? And what better way than to produce that information and put it out in a newsletter so the public can see what we're working on.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of the stuff that you might find in that newsletter. Have you comment on some of this stuff? Like, let's start with the 9/11 Dispatch Center.
In Ashtabula County, we've been talking some time about a new 911 dispatch center. It's probably been talked about in our county for close to 7, maybe even 8 years. That project is finally coming to a close. Next month, during the month of February, we'll actually be opening the new 911 dispatch center. And this is actually partly a requirement that's being put on us by the state of Ohio for us to reduce the number of PSAPs, and those are public service answering points. So depending on where you live in Ashtabula County, your 911, when you call 911, it could go to Conneaut, it could go to Geneva, it could go to Ashtabula, it could go to Jefferson. Just depends on where you live and who answers the 911 calls for the area that you reside. We're actually reducing the number of PSAPs to 1. The primary PSAP will be in Jefferson, and we'll have our backup site in the city of Ashtabula. And the reason we feel it's beneficial to go to 1 is because we'll be able to fully staff this operation 24/7. And where some of the PSAPs currently operate, they're not operated necessarily with full-time dedicated staff that solely answer 911 calls. Some have perhaps other duties, but it's important for us to have people that are merely just taking the phone calls and not tending to other things in the city jail or other things that may be going on. They're dedicated folks that are merely answering the 911 calls. And we also are able to now, because we have one central site, have 21st century technology. It's a $1.1 million investment that has been made by the county in this new center. So we'll have up-to-date technology that will allow us to truly be in the 21st century as it relates to technology and being able to respond in the most efficient, effective manner possible. And we also, our staff there will all be EMD trained. So when someone's calling a 911 and perhaps CPR needs to be administered, or somebody is experiencing a health event where there could be steps taken by the individual that's making the 911 call to ensure that that certain things are being done before the paramedics arrive, they'll be able to administer that to that individual and provide instructions so that they can perform that on that person until help arrives. So we're really raising the bar, and this is what's in place in many other counties and other communities throughout the country, and we're really excited that this project is finally coming to fruition here in Ashtabula County.
Very well done with that one. This next one I'm going to need an explanation too, as I'm not quite sure. It's called the new Zip Line and Challenge Course at Geneva on the Lake.
Yes. So late last year at the Geneva Lodging Conference Center, Delaware North opened up their new Zip Line and Challenge course there at the lodge. It's important to note that this is a private investment by Delaware North, and it's really a county partnership with the state of Ohio and Delaware North. All three parties were able to come together to make this possible, and the county actually receives a royalty payment from Delaware North based on sales by having that there. But this is the first zip line on the shore of Lake Erie in the state of Ohio. And there's also a challenge course. That's where you can complete various obstacles, and it's all in the air, connected to various trees throughout the Geneva State Park. And it's a very neat experience. I've actually done both. I've done the zip line and the canopy tour. So it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to complete, but it's a great time, and it even though it's only been open for a very limited time during the 2017 year, it's been very successful. So we're really excited to fully realize this in 2018.
Have you received any feedback on that particular one at your meetings or anything like that?
We've heard some very positive comments from folks that have experienced the zip line, and a lot of people have really commented that it's going to help bring people into our area.
Good, and that's what we want, right?
And that's what we want. That's right.
Definitely what we want. Recycling program plans in the county. How's that going?
So we're excited to announce that recycling is coming back to Ashtabula County. We'll actually be restoring the recycling drop-off sites throughout Ashtabula County. Above and beyond that, however, we are bringing back the hazardous waste collection program. Initially, we'll probably only be able to do one, but the goal moving forward is for us to maybe have a few collections in various locations throughout the county. But because we haven't had a collection for some time in the county, we recognize a lot of people may have things that are stockpiled. So it could be a very large recycling program that we have when we do it this year, but we plan to do it in maybe the spring, early summertime, and that's where people will be able to dispose of things like glass or paint, batteries, things like that, certain glass products, things that you're not able to merely throw away in the trash. We also are bringing back the tire collection program. So people that have tires that want to properly dispose of them, you'll be able to do that.
And the regular trash won't even pick those up, will they?
They will not. They won't pick those up. And then we also want to be able to offer a grant program to some of our local governments to help reimburse them for some of the expenses that they incur as it relates to recycling programs. So we're really excited to have this program back in the county, and stay tuned because a lot of the program will be rolled out over the next few months.
I think having those meetings and this monthly newsletter are two outstanding ideas. How can people get the newsletter?
Sure. The newsletter is accessible on our county website. Our county website is www.ashtabulacounty.us. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, that's where you can view the most recent version of the newsletter. If you want to view some of the older versions of the newsletter, merely go to the Commissioners tab on the county website. And then in the upper left-hand corner, you'll want to click Newsletter. And that's where you can view all of our older newsletters that have information about what we've been working on.
Is there a certain time of the month that comes out?
We generally have it out in the first or second week of each month.
Okay, very good. Let's talk a little bit about the county budget. I know you're seeking more money this year than you were in 2017. Some of that is for the Juvenile Justice Detention Center. What can you tell us about that? How much do we need for just that particular one, the Juvenile Justice and Detention Center?
Well, no question about it that the requests are up this year during the 2018 budget cycle. The thing is, we won't be able to meet every one of those requests. So we're actually still working through those. At the county level, we actually pass a temporary budget during the month of December to fund the first quarter of 2018, and that enables us to give us some time to really, fine-tune the budget request and then pass a full budget at the end of March. So we're actually still working through our budget process. We recognize that there's only so much money to go around to all the various entities. So we're still working through that. I actually just came from a meeting where we were talking about the budget. So we're still working through all of those requests, but I'm pretty hopeful and confident that we'll have it all fine-tuned at the end of March, and that's when we'll pass that. Now the Youth Detention Center, that's of course one of the requests that was made of us. I believe it was a significant ask that was made. It wasn't too much outside of the norm in terms of their asks for prior years, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to work with them and find a budget that works for the Youth Detention Center.
Are you seeking significantly more than you did in 2017, or just a little more?
In terms of
The budget
for
the whole for everything.
Well, we're going to try to control the increase as much as possible. For example, expenses for 2017 over 2016 was only up by 1%. Now for 2018, we have yet to really come to a conclusion on that, but we want to control the cost as much as possible, so that of course we don't. So that we don't go outside of our means. We want to be able to live within the resources that we have.
Sure. Some of the other budget money needed is the aging county courthouse.
Yes, the aging county courthouse. So we're making an ask in the capital budget bill for a new roof. We actually have a slate roof on the old courthouse, and it's of course named the old courthouse because that originally served as the courthouse in Jefferson, and we received an estimate earlier last year to see what it would cost us to replace that roof. It's about $400,000.
Wow.
So we're making an ask in the state capital bill for that because we really want to be able to preserve the historical integrity of that building.
Absolutely.
It's on the historical registrar, and it really is a neat building, a historic building, and it's amazing the number of people that come to our courthouse because they really want to see it. I mean, it's a very, very old structure. It's very neat. So we're excited that we're making this request and hopeful that we'll receive some funding.
Some other fundings from the budget is for the Ashtabula County Fairgrounds. You want to make some improvements over there?
Yes.
Tell us about what you want to do over there.
Yeah. So we're making a request in the capital bill also for the fairgrounds there in Jefferson, and the request is to really refurbish the grandstands, the main grandstands. They're in dire need of repair. They're very old. We'd like to be able to put a new roof on the structure and replace all of the seating with a better form of seating, because right now it's merely wood. We'd like to be able to use a weatherproof type product that will sustain the weather, the elements of Northeast Ohio. So we're making that request, and we also want to be able to have the grandstands ADA accessible, because it is not currently. So that's also part of our request, to have more seating that is ADA accessible.
Casey Koslowski, County Commissioner, my guest today on Around the Town with Chuck. Casey, there's many opportunities for the community to be involved, and you talked about a lot of those in the Star Beacon in an article recently. Could you explain some of these stuff? How can people get involved on, say, the County Port Authority?
Sure.
Tell us what that basically is and how we can get involved.
Sure. The County Port Authority is actually one of our lead economic development entities here in the county, and they play a significant role in economic development in all regions of the county. One of the biggest projects that the Port Authority is currently working on is the Sea Plant project. And that is the old First Energy plant in Ashtabula Township. There's a lot of work underway there at that facility, but its most primary use right now is to serve as a raw water intake that provides raw water to many factories in the Ashtabula area.
I'm very into that because I work at one of those factories.
Okay, yeah. So those factories rely heavily on that water, and it's important for the Port Authority to continue to make the modifications to that facility to ensure that raw water intake is protected, is preserved. And of course they're involved in many other projects. They've acquired several old abandoned gas stations in the county, and they've actually been able to receive state grant funds to be able to take out these old gas tanks, and then they now have that property available for another end user for future development. And then of course they work on many other economic development projects. They've been active in the gas pipeline project that I'm sure many residents have read about in the paper. But they're one of our economic development entities that work with the Growth Partnership and even the regional port authorities, such as the Conneaut City Port Authority and Ashtabula City Port Authority. We serve as the appointing authority for the County Port Authority, so we appoint all of the board members. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to stress to residents here in the county is we'd love to have you more involved and encourage you to learn more about the various boards and committees that we appoint to. And you're welcome to complete an application online at the county website, and then you can submit your interest and list your various specialty areas, things that you have an interest in serving on, and then we can see what committees that we have that would maybe be a good fit for you. But we'd love to have you more involved.
What about County Planning Commission? How can people get involved in that?
Yep. The County Planning Commission is another one of those committees that we appoint to. And the Planning Commission is an entity that provides input and insight as it relates to planning initiatives. So anytime that there's a new business looking to locate into an area, they have to go through the planning process, and that goes through the Planning Commission. So another way that you can be involved, and it would operate the same way. Merely complete an application, and we'd love to see if we can get you into one of those spots.
Certainly plenty of opportunities. The Transportation Advisory Committee.
Yep, Transportation Advisory Committee. That committee provides a lot of insight as it relates to public transportation in the county. You'll be working with the folks that run the ACT system, the Ashtabula County Transportation System, and they lean on that committee for them to be able to provide input and insight to how the system operates.
What about the Budget Committee?
The Budget Committee. That's a committee I just met with today, actually. They actually have the opportunity to sit in on all of the budget presentations by all of the departments and elected officials that receive funding from the commissioners. And then your role as a Budget Committee member is to provide input as it relates to the budgeting of the county, and you're able to offer up your ideas on how we can be more effective at passing a county budget.
Development Disabilities Board?
Yep, the Developmental Disabilities Board. That's the school that's located there in Kingsville, and many may recognize Happy Hearts. They currently run the Happy Hearts School, and there's many discussion about Happy Hearts actually right now. But the Developmental Disabilities Board is that board that governs that school.
And the Children's Services Board, I think Catherine Whittington has a lot of experience in that area, right?
Catherine does. She formerly was employed with Children's Services, and we appoint the board members to the Children's Services Board, and they provide leadership to Children's Services here in the county.
A couple more opportunities for involvement. How about the Airport Authority?
Yep, Airport Authority. The county has the Ashtabula County Airport, and we serve as the appointing authority for that board as well. And the airport, of course, is located in Denmark Township.
And Community Corrections Board.
And the Community Corrections Board. That board is tasked with formulating a community corrections plan in the county, and they also have been very busy over the last 2 years or so trying to address the jail needs that we have here in the county, because we recognize that we have a dated jail that is in dire need of repair, and that committee was actually tasked by the Board of Commissioners a few years ago to offer up recommendations on a path forward to address some of the needs that we have there at the county jail. So it's a very important board, and we'd love more participation in that board as well.
So how can people, Casey, express their interest, or what do they have to do to get on, or to volunteers for their help?
Sure. I would encourage everybody to go to our county website, and again, that's www.ashtabulacounty.us. And actually, you can even click a link that provides information on all of the boards and committees that we appoint to. So it'll provide a little more information for you. And then you can also complete a board application. And to do that, you merely go to the Commissioners page on the county website, and you click in the upper left-hand corner, Board Application. And then from there, you can submit your application, and then provide information on the various boards or specialty areas that you have an interest in.
Okay, very good. You did very good at that segment. Let's go on to your agenda items. Now, you have some agenda items coming up, of course. One of them is reappointing Ed Rezatek. What is his position?
He is the apiarist. So he does the beekeeping. The commissioners actually in the state of Ohio are required to retain the services of a beekeeper. And Ed Rezatek is our beekeeper for the county.
Okay. County Engineer Tim Martin is going to purchase, or will purchase, a 2006 Silverado pickup truck.
Yes.
Not very much money though, right?
Not very much money. I think they were able to find that on
$1,200 or something?
Yeah, on a surplus auction website. And this is a truck that will be used as the engineers department carries out their work on the roads and bridges here in the county.
Speaking of roads and bridges, we have 37,500 are gathering important data to set safe speeds on curves over the 350 miles of roads here in Ashtabula County.
Yeah, we have a lot of road in Ashtabula County, and of course we're the largest county geographically in the state. So that was approval of a contract to do an evaluation of the curves here in the county, and that's actually a requirement.
Also on your agenda, you approved some financial transactions, numerous transactions.
Yep. One of our primary responsibilities as a Board of Commissioners is to serve as the budgeting authority for various departments and elected officials. So, in any time that money is moved from various funds, it's required to be passed by the Board of Commissioners. So anytime that you see our financial resolutions, you will see multiple appropriations or money that's being moved around, because all money that is moved is required to be done by the Board of Commissioners.
Outstanding, Casey Koslowski. Now let's talk a little bit about how you commissioners get out in the community. You are seen everywhere. Last time I saw you were at Men Who Cook.
Yes.
What an event that is.
It was a very nice event, and it's my understanding they even raised more money this year than they did last year, so it was great. And I know they had a very successful 2017, so very pleased to see that they even beat last year's number.
Largest crowd ever as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And you had a booth where you had, I believe, ice cream, homemade ice cream from our very own Heavenly Creamery here in Conneaut with the apple crisp, was it?
It was Cherry's Jubilee.
Cherry's Jubilee, okay.
Cherry's
I knew a
Jubilee.
couple of those booths had ice cream.
Yes. And of course, we had to utilize the services of Heavenly Creamery for the ice cream. So we were very excited about that. He made a special cherry ice cream. And it's my understanding that's not part of his regular menu, but it's going to be soon. He's going to be bringing that flavor over to the shop there, so the ice cream shop. So we're excited about that. But it was a big hit. A lot of people liked the cherry
Jubilee. It was
Jubilee.
a big hit, and I was one of those that liked that. How important do you think it is, Casey, to get out in the community, all the towns and villages in the county? How do you view that as on your important level?
I think it's very important. And I've always taken on the philosophy of being present throughout the community. Because at the end of the day, I was elected by the residents of Ashtabula County, so I represent them. And any time that I'm out and about throughout the community, it gives me a great opportunity to be able to garner input and insight from people as I navigate throughout the county. So it's proven to be very beneficial. I enjoy it. And I know a lot of people say, boy, there's nothing to do in Ashtabula County. Boy, I can tell you, we can prove you wrong. There's always something to do in Ashtabula County. There's always an event somewhere. And we're always very pleased to be out and about throughout the community, supporting the various entities that are doing fine work here in our community.
Let me close with this, Casey. It's not one of my questions. Somebody at work wanted me to ask you. With all the financial issues and problems that the schools have here in the county, down the future, do you ever see any of the county schools maybe consolidating?
That question has come up a few times, and I'm sure there'll be that discussion moving forward. I think the challenge for a lot of the school districts right now is the continued push to do more and more, but with less financial resources at their disposal. And I think there will be that discussion moving forward about how can we continue to sustain our operations, what other routes can we take to maybe share services and find ways to save money financially. So I anticipate over the coming months and years for there to be that discussion about sharing services and working more collaboratively. And I will tell you, though, a lot of school districts do that already. They always try to work very well together and share resources where they can. But is the solution to consolidate schools? I don't know. But if that were to ever occur, I would certainly want to ensure that the residents and the parents, teachers, and students all be very active in that discussion, for there to be healthy dialogue on what the best path moving forward is to address our financial situation with some of our schools.
When you were on the PB school board, did you see that an issue at that time?
During my tenure on the PB school board, we were very fortunate. It seemed like financially we were doing very well. And when I was on the school board, we had just completed a building, a district-wide construction project. We built a new school, which serves as the primary school, and we renovated both our middle and high school. And we were fortunate. Enrollment has been, during my tenure, it was pretty steady, so we didn't lose a lot of students. And I know some of the school districts here are facing a decline in enrollment. So less students in the school means less state funding that they receive. So that makes it difficult. But we didn't experience that too much during my time on the school board, but we recognized that years later, some of the schools don't have as many students as we did before.
Are you a fan of the open enrollment?
There are pros and cons to that. There can be an argument made for it and an argument made against it. But I think my perspective is, with open enrollment, I think you need to ensure that school districts are still receiving sufficient funding to be able to sustain their operations. You can't, let everybody merely leave your district, and that leaves a district without any financial resources at their disposal to run a school district. I can see, a strong argument can be made why open enrollment makes sense, because if there is a school district that is not performing at the level that a parent would like to see, they should have the opportunity to be able to, to send their child to a district where they feel they may receive a different quality of education. But I think when that's done, though, they still need to make sure that sufficient financial resources go to that school to be able to keep that school district viable. and work with that school district to be able to improve standards and to better the school district as a whole.
For educational reasons, yes, I agree with that. But what about open enrollment for just sports reasons? What's your thoughts on
Oh
that?
boy, yeah. For merely doing it for sports reasons, I don't know. I don't think I'd be a big. I don't know if I'd be a big fan of that.
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, education. That's what you're there. You want to make
Right,
sure you receive
right.
a quality education that prepares you for college or for a career down the road. So I think that needs to be the center point. But of course, sports play into it as well during your school years. But I think at the end of the day, you want to make sure you get that good education that prepares you for the future.
Casey, thank you very much for a great interview.
You got it. It's great to be here, Chuck.
Casey Koslowski, my guest on Around the Town with Chuck.